What's up, guys? Before we get into the video, we've got a membership upgrade. A 6-month member, Racing Vagabond, going from a Tier 1 membership to a Tier 2 membership. Vagabond, you were the second ever channel member on this deal, so thank you so very much for your continued support. And now let's jump into today's video. All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Rodman Rundown. If you're watching for the first time or if you've watched a couple of times, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We have like 75-ish% of the viewers do not actually watch or don't actually subscribe to the channel. So if you could do that, that would be fantastic. We are closing in on 5,000 subscribers, which would be a crazy milestone to hit in the first year of this channel being a thing. So today we're going to be talking about the top 10 most popular drivers, in my opinion, in sprint car racing. One driver that you will not see on here is Kyle Larson. For obvious reasons, number one, he does not run a sprint car full-time, and I just feel like it's not exactly fair to everybody else to have him as a guy on this list, because obviously he'd be number one, and it's just not fair. So I'm not going to have Kyle Larson on here as the most popular driver. It's going to be everybody else. It's going to be regional guys, going to be guys that run a series, all that kind of stuff. And so we'll have the top 10. I got a couple honorable mentions right behind me, which we'll start with right now. And so a couple honorable mentions. Gio Scelzi. I think he's a guy that a lot of people enjoy watching and listening to, whether that's his Dirt Vision interviews after he runs on the podium or the Dash interview. He's got his own podcast now, which it seems to be growing pretty well. And I love to see that. I think more and more drivers need to start doing things like what Gio's doing with his own podcast and trying to expand his brand. He's got really good merchandise. He's got a car out on the racetrack that when it's Gio when he rolls onto the racetrack. I think all those things combined have helped kind of boost his popularity. Corey Day, young driver that just drives the piss out of the car every time he's on the racetrack, which fans seem to love that as well. Brian Brown, very, very, maybe one of the best on this board at talking with fans, very good with sponsors, has a recognizable race car. People are behind him every year in August, hoping that he can win that Knoxville Nationals. In my opinion, Brian Brown is one of the more popular drivers in sprint car racing. Brent Marks, Anthony Macri, those two guys have the whole PA posse behind them. Marks obviously went on the road full-time this year, and he's still got that posse behind him as far as the fans go, trying to cheer him on. Macri, probably the most dominant driver in Pennsylvania right now, and we do know that is probably the biggest hotbed of sprint car racing in the entire country. And so when you're as dominant as he has been over the last couple of years, naturally, you're going to be one of the most popular drivers. Logan Schuchart, he won $1 million sprint car race. People that didn't even know what sprint car racing was and maybe watched that race just because it was $1 million to win, they automatically became a fan of Logan Schuchart. And then once they learned his story about how he started and what they did with the Outlaws and all that stuff early on, I think he's a hard guy not to like. And then Lance Dewease, I would say, I don't know, this is a random number. I'm going to say 70%, maybe it's 60, maybe it's 50, of the fans in sprint cars are kind of the older generation, right? Lance Dewease, an older guy. He's been doing it for a very long time. So a majority of the fan base has been watching him since he started racing, and he's won all the big races in PA. He's done a lot of incredible things in his career. And so I think that you got to have Lance Dewease on the list as far as an honorable mention goes. Now, into the top 10, and we'll try and kind of scoot through this a little bit quickly here. At number 10 on my list, it's a regional driver. We've already talked about somebody that's related to him on the honorable mentions, and I'm just going to get to it. It's Dominic Scelzi. I think Dominic Scelzi is one of the most popular drivers in sprint car racing. Obviously, a lot of people get behind him, hoping that he's going to win that first national touring win. Whenever he finishes second or third, you could just tell that how bad this guy wants to win one of those races, and people get behind that. They love to see that emotion. They love to see a guy driving his heart out, trying to accomplish one of his goals in racing altogether. His podcast, The Drivers Project, with J.J. Hickle and Sam Haverteep and Daryl Turford, I think that also brings more people into Dominic Scelzi as a fan for him. And he's done very well in broadcasting as well, being a pit reporter on Dirt Vision and being a color commentator and things like that. Dominic Scelzi is a hard guy not to like. And I would love to see him try the road and do a full-time series one time, because I really do think he could move up this list more and more. He's got the personality that people love to see, and so I've got him at number 10. Now, at number 9, it's another regional driver from the opposite side of the country, and he's a more polarizing figure in sprint car racing. I feel like a lot of people either love him or they hate him, but I would say most of the people do like him or they love him, especially due to the fact that he's won big races against the big series, and he's done it in his backyard, in his home state. And then you go on Twitter and you see all the things he says on Twitter, and you hear his interviews, and he's passionate about the sport and all that good stuff, right? I think it's hard to not have Danny Dietrich on the list at number 9. Dietrich, like I said, some of the stuff he comes up with on Twitter, man, it is absolutely hilarious. But you gotta appreciate all the heart and soul that he has put into sprint car racing over the last 10, 12, 15 years. And he's a guy that, the national guys have to worry about whenever they come into his neck of the woods, and even outside the neck of the woods, right? That's another thing. He goes to other places and he's able to be competitive and win races. And so Danny Dietrich, for me, is inside the top 10 on the popularity list. Number 3, we talked about a guy that's got an entire region behind him with Dietrich, the same thing kind of with Selzy in California. How about a guy that's got an entire country behind him? I feel like you got to have McFadden on here. James McFadden, I think his popularity grew even more this year than it has ever before. He gets wrecked a couple times by Brad Sweet this year. People don't really like Brad Sweet as much as McFadden. And then he gets wrecked by a guy that people don't like. He gets out of the car and gives an interview and is pretty polite in the interview considering what happened to him. His speech at the High Limit Racing banquet was heart-touching, and everybody was, sad and teary-eyed and all that stuff. All of those things combined with McFadden, I think it makes him become a very popular driver. He's probably maybe the best, driver to ever come out of Australia and do things out here in North America, right? So McFadden, I think he's got a lot of people in Australia that cheer him on, and so it's hard to not have him here on the top 10. Now, at number 7, number 7, I got my things mixed up over here. Number 7, this guy might not have done incredible things to get fans in sprint car racing. Well, he has as a car owner, but his NASCAR prowess, right? Him being in NASCAR for 10, 12 years certainly has boosted his popularity when he comes to the dirt tracks. Kasey Kahne, no doubt, is one of the most popular drivers. Whenever we go to any race with High Limit, he has one of the longest lines after the races at his trailer, looking for pictures, looking for autographs, and Kasey is very good with the fans. And he's a very well-known driver. You could not put this list together and not have Kasey Kahne on the list. The things he's done for sprint car racing as well, fielding multiple cars for years and years, people love that as well about him. And what's there to hate about Kasey Kahne? What is there to hate about Kasey Kahne? Everybody loves him, right? So Kasey Kahne, number 7 on the most popular driver list for me. Now up to number 6, and I had a hard time not putting this guy in the top 5. The story behind what he has done to get where he is now, 2 cars and 1 trailer. They barely had enough, money to make it up and down the road, but they made it happen. His story, the way he carries himself around, he's so good with the fans. He'll give anybody the time of day, whether you are a guy like me that is an announcer for a series or you're just a random fan at the track to hoping to meet a guy. I think Jacob Allen is easily one of the most popular drivers in sprint car racing. I honestly had a hard time putting him at number 6. I wanted him in the top 5, but Jacob Allen, I don't know what that was. Something's going on over there, but okay, what is going on here? Hang on. I don't know. My computer just had a malfunction over there, but Jacob Allen, like I was saying, people love him. They love the story. Every time, I feel like a lot of people love his speeches at banquets and things like that. Just he gets so into it. His heart is so wrapped up in racing. And, he's a guy that a lot of people get behind. He's very blue collar, and I feel like people can relate to Jacob Allen a lot. And they've been able to do that for over a decade now, right? So Jacob Allen, number 6, easy for me. Now, number 5, him winning the World of Outlaws Championship this year has certainly boosted David Gravel's popularity this year. He has a very big social media presence. He's putting out videos all the time of his, of edits of his car going around the racetrack or him just talking to the fans, answering trivia questions, and he's got a good YouTube channel and all that stuff. I think that, David Gravel, the climb to the top has certainly helped increase his fan base over the last couple of years. So David Gravel, I think he is certainly one of the more popular drivers in the entire sprint car world. I saw a lot of comments over the last 2 weeks after he won that championship that I'm not a big fan of David Gravel, this and that, but I think a lot of people are big fans of David Gravel. And I think all that social media stuff that he does, which, like I said earlier, I wish more guys would do it. I think that has definitely played into his hand and helped him out quite a bit, gaining more and more fans. Number 4 on the list, this is a guy that has brought in a lot of younger fans into the racing scene, which is a big thing because, like I said earlier, I feel like a big percentage of sprint car racing fans are the older generation. We need to start getting more and more young fans into this to keep it going for a long time. And this guy has done an incredible job at that. He has probably, if not the most popular YouTube channel in all of sprint car racing, and that is going to be Tanner Holmes. So Tanner Holmes, I feel like when he was in the 1A car last year at the end of the year with the Outlaws, he had a t-shirt table set up at his trailer every single night after the races. It was a huge line. People were wanting to get his autograph, get his picture, get a t-shirt because they've seen him online, right? And I feel like he's introduced a lot of people to the world of sprint car racing just from that YouTube channel. And so I feel like he's got to be in the top 5. He might not have a top 5 as far as the results go against the rest of these guys up here, but he's working his way there. He's still young. He's still got a long ways to go. And so Tanner Holmes at number 4 for me. Number 3, and I almost had this guy at number 2, but I feel like I talked about it in a video the other day. I feel like the World of Outlaws would not be quite the same without him if he decided to retire. He is the World of Outlaws. He is the brand of the Outlaws. He's won 10 championships. He's won 300-plus races. He's won all of the big races multiple times. And I think that Donnie Schatz deserves a place on this list inside the top 3. I wanted him at number 2, but I put him at number 3. Donnie Schatz, like I said, kind of the same thing with Lance Dewease, right? He's been around a long time. A lot of the older fans have seen him grow up and get to where he is now. Obviously, at points in time when he was winning 30 races a year, winning 6 Knoxville Nationals in a row, people got tired of seeing him win. But he's cooled off a little bit now. And when I was in victory lane to see him win that 11th Knoxville Nationals, I have never heard a louder crowd in my entire life. So Donnie Schatz, his popularity right now, I think, is at an all-time high. I think people love to see Donnie Schatz win races now and continue to add to his legacy that he already has. So Donnie at number 3 for me. Number 2, and I wanted to flip-flop Schatz in this guy, but you got to think about all the things that come along with it. He kind of similar to Gravel and Holmes. He's got a very good YouTube channel where he's kind of documented the behind the scenes with him, a very well-made documentary style of video for him. He's got a sponsor that is so very well known. He's a guy that is kind of like Corey Day. I feel like, Corey Day is more like this guy. He just drives the piss out of the car each and every time he's on the racetrack. He's coming from the back, making big moves. He's bouncing off the wall. He's doing wheelies. He's biking up. I mean, he's putting his car where nobody else will do it, and people love to see that kind of stuff. So you got to have Sheldon Haudenschild, number 2 most popular driver in all of sprint car racing. Also, think about the merchandise side of things. He's got one of the best merchandise, websites and different things that have his number and his name and his brand all over it. And that's the thing with him. He's built a brand. ShopHod.com. He's built that Race Ready thing. He's done all kinds of stuff to help promote sprint car racing. And I think that Sheldon Haudenschild easily deserves a spot inside the top 5. You can have him. I feel like a lot of people could have him number 1. They can have him number 3. But I'm going to have him at number 2 for now. And our number 1, in my opinion, most popular driver is going to be Rico Abreu. Rico, I just think that he is the best with fans. He's the best with sponsors. Obviously, he's fast on the racetrack. Very much like Sheldon, he has a really, really good merchandise side of things. Now, for Rico, I wish he would do more of the YouTube side of things and make videos and stuff behind the scenes. He's doing a lot on Twitter, and he's done a lot of funny, picture videos with, like at Knoxville this year, he had that video where he had all the outlaw guys and the high limit guys' heads put on to different characters and movie scenes. And I don't know, Rico's just a funny guy, and he is a very relatable guy as well, just the way he talks and the way he acts. And he's always so grateful for everything. I feel like a lot of people love Rico. And if you don't think he's number 1 or number 2, I think you're wrong. So Rico Abreu, number 1, in my opinion, most popular driver. And the more that he runs with High Limit and gets that brand to all places around the country and starts to build up, and if he can win a championship eventually, he will solidify as one of the most popular drivers of all time in sprint cars. So that is my top 10 right there. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Who did I miss? Who shouldn't be on the list? Who should be in the honorable mentions? Who shouldn't? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I appreciate all of your guys' support, and we'll talk to you guys again here soon.